Hi, Stephanie and Kevin. Glad we're able to get together again, and thanks for getting all your information together for me to run your financial plan. I did want to just reiterate that in our last meeting or conversation that you mentioned retirement planning is your priority right now amongst your overall financial plan goals. So I did focus on the retirement plan aspect, and we'll address that today in our meeting. Um, let's get started first by maybe talking about some of the different variables you gave me to run the retirement plan. You mentioned you would both like to retire in 25 years at age 62, and that you would like 80% of your pre-retirement income at retirement. So those are both variables I factored in. Stephanie, you're currently saving 5% of your salary from the school district in the 403B plan. That was about $2,860 last year. You also received a plan match from the school district of $715 in the 403B plan, and of which I've factored that into our calculations as well. Kevin, I show you contributed $3,000 last year into your traditional IRA. You had asked about whether or not it makes sense to set up a SEP IRA. You also asked about a traditional 401k plan like some of your friends have, so we'll talk about that as well today. The bigger variable I think that we need to make sure you understand is how the Social Security payment in your situation works. So you provided some figures for me. Those figures were actually based on full retirement age. Full retirement age for both of you is actually 67. So if you were born in 1960 or later, the Social Security Administration considers full retirement age now 67. So what does that mean? That means that if you retire at 62, you're going to be taking a discount, and there is a discount variable for retiring at 62 versus 67. It's 30%. So in this case here, I had to make some adjustments to the figures you provided me. So I did run my analysis using 62 and your Social Security with a 30% discount variable. I also used the 7% investment return that you provided as an expected return on your investments. I did not see your statements, but I made a note that next time we meet, I do want to review your asset allocation, take a look at your investments, and see if there's anything else we can do to help you there as well. But I did use the 7% investment return that you stated in our discussion. Steffi, I also noticed that you've been with the school district for over 15 years. That's fantastic. What's nice about that is the 403B plan has a special catch-up provision for those that have been in the plan for over 15 years. That allows you to contribute an extra $3,000 per year. That may be a variable that we want to consider or may need to consider. So it's worth noting that and knowing that you qualify for that. Kevin, you also asked about whether or not it makes sense to consider a SEP IRA or a 401k plan. We can talk more about that as well. I did take a look at both. We'll give you some feedback on both. Why don't we start with the SEP? The SEP IRA is for small business owners like yourself. It does require that you make contributions on behalf to your employees. You do have the flexibility to decide if you want to make a contribution or not in any given year. Assuming you do make a contribution now, you will have to make, and let's assume you max out the contribution amount, you'll need to do the same for your eligible employees. So as an employer, you're able to contribute what nets out to 20% of your Schedule C income after you take some taxes out of there. That means you're still contributing 25% of your eligible employees' salary to their individual SEP IRA accounts. So that may or may not work. You mentioned a preference to have a plan where the employees funded the accounts themselves, that it wasn't an employer-funded plan. So that might be something that we need to consider there. The alternative to this, or or excuse me, before we move on, the eligibility for the SEP IRA is based on employees being at least 21 years old, working 3 of the preceding 5 years, and part-time employees may be eligible here. The part-time employees would have had to earn at least $550 in a previous tax year. Haven't seen the amount they make, but that might be something to consider as well, Kevin, in terms of choosing a SEP IRA program for Uncle Max's. The alternative to this, as you mentioned, is a 401k plan. But in lieu of the traditional 401k plan, what you might want to consider is actually the simple 401k plan. That's designed for small businesses like yourself or sole proprietors. It isn't as costly to administer, and still allows you to contribute up to $12,000 per year on an elective basis. And the simple 401k is also a elective deferred salary option for your employees too. So they would be making contributions to the plan based on their own election. Now there is an option where you can make a non-elected contribution on behalf of them. There's a 2% and a 3% option, so you could make additional contributions for them, but it is a employee salary elective, deferred salary elective program. So that might be maybe the better option for you in terms of a retirement plan for Uncle Max's. I would ask that you maybe ask your tax advisor to also give you an opinion on that, but I would probably, based on my analysis here, recommend the simple 401k plan. If you do consider that, that means that you're able to contribute up to $12,000. I did calculate that your SEP IRA amount is close to $11,000, so it's not that much of a variable there, but it gives you the flexibility in the simple IRA 401k plan, to contribute up to $12,000. So the good news here is that you do have some retirement options, and you could theoretically use one or the other. Why don't we take a look at the numbers now and how it actually works out in terms of your annual savings requirement. So I did take into consideration retirement age 62. I did take that 30% discount into consideration here. Kevin, the number you gave me for your Social Security number at full retirement age was $23,856. Take the 30% discount off that, and it's $16,699. Stephanie, your number that you provided was $22,840. Take the 30% discount. That's now $15,988. So those are the figures I used calculating both your retirement at age 62. If we assume age 62 is your retirement age, based on my calculations, your annual savings goal is $26,320. Right now you're saving approximately $6,575 between Stephanie's 403B plan and Kevin's traditional IRA. That leaves an additional savings requirement of $19,745, taking the $6,575 into account. The other variable here is your cash flow at the end of the year after you take your inflows and outflows was about $6,300 last year. That could be applied to the required savings amount here. So if we did factor that in, that's $6,300 less $19,745. That leaves an annual savings requirement of $13,445. But I'd actually like to see you actually use that $6,300 in cash flow to pay off your credit card bills and to maybe pay off that car loan first. So let's not consider that right now. I'd rather see you pay off your debt first, rather than say we commit that to the retirement savings plan. In lieu of that, I have an alternative that I want to run by you for your consideration. So, if it's possible, I would maybe consider retiring at age 67, and the benefit here would be you're not taking that 30% discount on your Social Security benefit. So that would make a big difference in terms of the calculations. And if at all possible, can you reduce your pre-retirement income requirement of 80% to 75%? That means instead of 80% pre-retirement income goal of $96,960, it's at 75% now, $90,900. I'm not sure that's that big of a variable for you, but in any event, it's something I would like you to consider. How does this make a difference now? So instead of the $26,320 you need to save on an annual basis, assuming you retire at 67, take 75% of your pre-retirement income versus 80, it lowers it to $14,959 that we have to annually save. If you take the $6,575 you're currently saving in retirement, that lowers your annual savings amount to now $8,384. That's versus the $19,745 assuming you retire at 62. That's about a 57% discount there, or difference in the amount that you need to save each year. So pretty big number. I think when we really look at your current income, your inflows, outflows, that makes this much more attainable and easier to accomplish your retirement goal plan here. So something I'd like you to really seriously consider. So if it's the latter here, retiring at age 67, and you have an annual savings goal of $8,384. If we were to split that in two, that means you're each having to save an additional almost $4,200 a year. So Stephanie, that means you're, instead of 5%, you're saving more like 12%, and Kevin, you're saving more like 11%, which is well within the range of your simple 401k requirement. So by making the adjustment to retire at age 67 versus 62, I do believe it's going to make reaching your retirement goal, in this case at 67, much more attainable and reasonable, given we have some other topics to discuss in subsequent meetings here. We still need to cover college savings funding requirement or goals, and how we can do that. I still want to suggest we continue or create an emergency fund for you. And some of the different ways that we'll be able to do this is through some other priorities you had mentioned to me earlier. One of them was selling the rental income property, but I think all in all, if you can consider retirement at 67 and reduce your income requirement, it's going to make a big difference, not only in terms of meeting your retirement goal, but your overall financial plan. So what I'd like to do is suggest that we do an annual comprehensive financial plan, do that on an annual basis. We review how we're tracking here to ensure that we're meeting the financial plan goals, in this case your retirement plan goal, and that when we do this, we may find that we can actually make some positive adjustments along the way. So let's plan to do this on an annual basis. Let's keep track, make sure you're on track to make your, in this case, retirement plan goals. And if we can, we'll make positive adjustments along the way after running the plans. So I appreciate your time today. Let me know if you have any other questions after you've had time to digest all this information, and I'll make myself available to answer those questions should you have any. So thanks again for coming in today, and appreciate your time, and we'll look forward to moving on to some of your other priorities as a next step. Thanks again.